A few years ago, we started the Zero Accidents program. And what we wanted to accomplish was to start each day with the goal of zero accidents, zero injuries, zero incidents that could cause harm to one of our employees. And starting each day with that in mind, I feel, is a good goal. It starts us off on the right foot. I don't think anybody comes to work thinking they're going to get hurt, but we want to make sure we take the steps necessary to make that happen each day.
The most important thing we have here is people, and we all want to go home at night, so you just can't stop talking about it. We have safety meetings every morning on every job, and we look for what's going to go wrong today, what can go wrong, and we never used to have that mindset. You know, we used to be, a lot of it I think is when you're young, you think you're going to live forever, and when you start to see some of the accidents that happen, you know, you learn pretty quick that you better start paying attention. So I think, you know, somebody told us once, you know, what's gonna happen in the next 10 seconds? And that's what you gotta be thinking about all the time. You gotta, you know, these trucks are big and the loaders and there's a lot going on, and some of the people are new and they're learning.
When you see something that just isn't quite right, you can't walk by it. You can't go past it, no matter, you know, geez, they'll be all right. No, they won't. You just don't know when that's going to come up and bite somebody. So I approach it as, if it's not right, if it makes me nervous, if I wouldn't want to do what they're doing without doing it a little different, or getting some tool, or being at the right height, or being tied off or something, I'm going to go back and change that. I'm going to ask the guys to make a better choice and do it appropriately. I've never had pushback from the guys in our quarries and pits. They've been excellent.
Everybody here works very hard. And I think most of them enjoy their work, but they also have lives outside of work. They have family, they have friends, they have hobbies and things they like to do. And unless we do things safely here, they're not going to get the opportunity to go home and do those things. And that's anywhere from a minor injury all the way up through what we never ever want to see is a fatality. That can affect their life. It can impact the way they enjoy their free time, and we want to make sure we're doing our part to make sure they can do that.
In the back of your mind, at least for me as a safety director, is that someday you might get a call from the field that somebody's injured beyond stitches or beyond a scrape, and how would you react to that? And my feelings in accepting this position was, that's not what I want to ever deal with, to deal with a major catastrophe or fatality on a job site. And it drives you every day to make sure you're doing the best you can and make sure that the employees are following the policies, that many of them are in place because people have been injured or killed over the years, and that's why they exist. These things exist for their protection. Someone has learned the hard way about these various situations.
Well, this was on a Saturday morning. It was back in 1971. I had gone out. The people that were working for me were running the plant. We were filling up a silo for the following week. And I had gone out for parts and come back, and I had gone down to check out the belts. And one of the belts, conveyor belts, under the feeder bins was running off, so making material go down between the roll and the belt. And we had made up a stick, probably about 3 feet long, and about four inches wide, and with a grip handle on it to hold it on the roll, get the stone off the roll between the belt and the roll, throw it out. I'd done that 3 or 4 times. I dropped the stick, I reached for it. This may be kind of graphic for some people, but this is exactly what happened. My right hand got caught when I went to reach for the stick and pulled my arm right off to the shoulder. and it was only a matter of seconds. It felt like eternity, but it was a matter of seconds. And I had my left hand pushed up against the machinery, trying to hold myself from being sucked into it. And that's probably what pulled the arm off. But there was no shut off there to be able to shut it off. So there was a safety cable on the inside of this particular place, and probably this is part of my fault. I should have picked up on this also. There should have been one on the outside also. Safety cable so you can pull it off, shut the belts off. There was never one there, but there is now. After the arm come off, I just reached over and grabbed everything that was hanging out and run up to the scale house. It didn't take me long to get there. My brother-in-law was in there running the hot top plant. We was filling the silos up. And I come in, and of course everybody's gathered around me, and I sat down. The loader operator comes in, and he said, "Would you like to lay down?" And I says, "I don't know." Well, I did, and I'll tell you, the pain hit when I laid down, because all the muscles and everything that was hanging was, and I was covered in blood. But right to this day, I can remember the ride into the hospital. They had called the ambulance. Was a rough ride. I mean, every bump, every railroad track, everything you went over, and I could see the way they were going too. And I get into the hospital, and they was wheeling me in, and there was people out there. They were screaming. What are they screaming at? And I'm just covered in blood. I'm red, like this shirt, all over. And I couldn't understand what they were doing, but they didn't take very long to get me upstairs. And they asked me all kinds of questions. They asked me what my name was, how old I was, if I was married, where I lived, who the president was, what year. And I answered all the questions. And then all of a sudden, I woke up 15 or 20 hours later in the recuperating room. And to me, just being alive is worth something. But it does affect your whole family. It really does. It affects your whole family, your friends, everything. I mean, it's all new to them, and it's certainly new to me. I think they all thought that they felt sorry for me, for one thing. I think they thought that I was handicapped. I'm far from handicapped. I can do just about anything, and anything I do attempt to do, and if I cannot do it, I walk away from it. I come back and it's fine. But there are times that you get quite frustrated. Not so much now because I'm getting older, but back when this first happened. But I felt so lucky just to be alive, to be able to tell the story. And it's a bad experience. And I hope nobody has to ever go through that. It kind of wakes you up to be more cautious, and you have to be focused on what you're doing. You've got to be focused on your surroundings. Focus with people doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and I picked that up a lot. And I have talked to a few people like different things, and it was understandable. They didn't realize it at the time, but things could happen very quickly. And it was just a matter of seconds when I lost my arm, and it was very scary. Here I'm just a public waymaster for R.J. Grondin's. I take care of all their pits, all the material that they have in their pits. All the paperwork comes to me, and I invoice once a week. Stay focused. You've got to stay focused. Pay attention to your surroundings. Don't be texting and trying to do something at the same time. The texting today has gone right out crazy. It's gone wild, and it's pathetic, but people do it, and people get hurt from it. Stay focused.
I received a call from a very panicked employee. He was asking me or verifying with me the correct procedures to follow in a major incident. And the incident that happened is one of our employees had tangled with a crusher, and he did not end up on the best end of it, as most people can imagine. And this employee had made a decision to not follow procedures that are put in place for their safety. And this employee's voice and level of concern, when you pick up that phone and you have to calm them down and work them through a very major situation, it rings home to you that you may go find somebody in a position or in a situation that that they're not coming back from, or not able to recover from, or may not live through. And it was a 20-minute ride from the office with one of the owners to get to the site to find out that no, the employee was fine, would be fine, banged up pretty good. However, when you arrive in one of these situations you don't know, and you have first responders on your facility actually taking and putting caution tape around your piece of equipment and investigating it as if a fatality had happened, that always will stick in my mind. That was the near hit that could have been a fatality in this industry, that for a few minutes of this person's time could have prevented any of this from happening. I remember one of the owners telling me that was the second worst call he's ever had to make, and what he was referring to was the call to this individual's wife to let her know that yes, he's fine, but you'd have to go see him in the hospital. And when I thought about that, I said, no one in this industry ever wants to make that worst call. So it drives you to make sure that you're doing this, whether it's the funnest job in the world or not. You're there. Your responsibility is to make sure that you are applying these policies and procedures to the best of your ability to make sure that all these folks can go home and you never have to make that worst call.
I do believe that you can be very productive and very safe at the same time. It's the manner in which you approach your work. You view it as organized, as the way it should be done. Not cutting corners, and that includes safety or production. We don't want to cut corners. As long as we're doing things right, we're going to have a good quality product, and we're going to do it safely. So I think it works well.
I might ask some questions to get clarification why they're doing some task the way they are. Many times it's because, well, we've done it that way for 30 or 40 years. And when that example comes up, I'm very quick to say that isn't how we need to do it in the next 40 seconds. We need to look at how do we do that safer? How do we get away from any pinch points? How do we avoid things falling or dropping? How do we support different things? And that's how I've approached it. And I try to use the guys' years of experience as much as I can to learn from it myself, and also use it as a teaching tool for any of the young folks that we're bringing into the job sites and the quarries.
I think people keeping their attention to what they're doing, not getting distracted, and trying to keep that zero accidents in mind as they're doing their work, as they're making the hundreds of choices they make each day, where they're going to put their hands, where they're going to put their body, what they're going to do next.
What I try to teach my guys, or what I try to drive home in them, is to consider the consequences if something goes wrong, given the dangerous nature of our work. We're dealing with pinch points, we're dealing with high voltage, we're dealing with heavy equipment, and if we don't work in the correct manner every minute of every day, it only takes a second to change somebody's life forever. And I just try to drive home that point. Just consider, like I said, how serious the nature of our work is, and how diligent you need to be, and how you perform your tasks every minute of every day. Be thinking about what you're doing.